Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first post F This Movie Fest reserve seating. How you guys doing? We hope you enjoyed the weekend. It was amazing.
Yes.
Rob's representing the shirt, and we're joined once again by the one, the only Adam Fast. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, man. Hey, listen, we have a bit of a tradition going here. It's happened, I think, every time I've been on here, and I need to keep it going. All right. I think every time that we have one of these, I need to wear a different baseball hat.
Do
So
it.
Ah,
I'm going with my man Paul Skeens today. We're going,
wow.
we're going with a Pittsburgh Pirates hat today. How's this look?
Okay.
Is this
Looks
working?
good.
Yeah.
Should I, Adam, would it be good for me to debut? I
Ooh,
also
what's this one?
now have my
There you
Chicago Cubs.
go. Did you buy?
Yeah,
Did you just buy this when you were in town?
So Adam got it for me.
There you go.
I
All
bought
right.
it. Yeah, I bought it about a year ago and was too lazy to ship it. All right.
Wow.
So we are doing a mailbag episode, and we have four questions to cover. They're all really, really good ones. So why don't we dive right in?
Mhm.
Our first question is from Nathan. What is the first movie you remember being shocked by?
I really had to think about this one, and like you kind of have to think like when I was a kid,
Right.
Yeah.
like as far as like just it's a very touchy thing, like shocked,
Yeah.
like oh my gosh, just surprised or whatever. And I think that the first movie that I remember like watching and being shocked how much I loved it, at least that's what I'm going with,
Mhm.
was Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like
Nice.
I went into that one knowing nothing about Pee-wee. I knew nothing about him as a comedian or
Yeah.
anything. And the first time I watched that movie, I was like, oh my gosh, like I think I'm in love with this movie. I think I'm in love with everything Pee Wee Herman.
The way I interpreted it was shocked as in like, ooh, like wow, I've never seen anything like this. Like this is either like offensive in like a good way. I mean, I don't care about
Hmm.
offensive, but the first thing that popped in my head was Pink Flamingos when I watched Pink Flamingos in high school for the first time. It
Hmm.
was kind of another one of those like I didn't realize you could do this in a movie. I didn't realize this could be a movie, and obviously it's so over the top and so purposely offensive, obviously and I enjoyed the hell out of it. To be clear, like my friends and I were laughing our asses off. Like we loved it so much. But that was the first time I was really like, "Ooh, this is something like I can't show my mom. Like this is too much."
Yeah, so I had the privilege of being able to ask Nathan directly because he's one of my buddies from my Second City Improv Olympic days. He specified that it was like being scared by something because
Okay.
I wasn't sure if he meant like just surprised or scared.
Yeah.
So for me, the first time I was like really scared by something that I can remember was Masters of the Universe has a post-credit stinger where Skeletor, spoiler, has fallen down a dark hole, and then after the credits pass and Bill Conti's score is soaring, and I'm all like, "Yay, we defeated evil." Skeletor's bald head pops out of like purple water
Mhm.
and says like, "I'll be back," and then that's it. And I ran out of the room crying, and I didn't know movies could do that. I thought it was breaking all the rules. I also had that with Pizza the Hut in Spaceballs.
I mean, if we're going with like ones that scare me, I was a little bit later in life when this one came out, but it stuck with me so much that I would check under my bed for
Mm,
like a year. I checked under my bed. Aliens,
yeah.
particularly when Sigourney Weaver they put the face huggers in the room with
Mhm.
her, and
Mhm.
she's underneath the bed, and it's like stabbing through the bed. I don't know why that scene more than any other one like stuck with me, and I was like, oh my god. And like I would lay in bed just being like, face hugger there, man. Adam, there's no face huggers. They're not real. And
Is
I
there
would just like have to look.
Yeah, it's
is
funny
there
you should
one?
mention that with Aliens too, also because I remember my dad rented that movie on it was when it was on VHS and I was about 4 or 5 and I wasn't watching it, but I walked into the room while it was on and it was the scene where like the face hugger was in like the water jug and like
Oh
it
yeah.
just like jumps at the glass and I was like, oh, it was like the Abe Simpson meme where you walk into a room and walk away.
Perfect.
All right, our next question comes from Louis. Do you have any filmmakers or actors who you like and root for, but you wish did better work, had access to better material, or went in a different direction?
So the filmmaker I want to like more than I do is Fede Alvarez. I know I'm committing an intense crime to the horror community right now by saying that, but like I just don't quite get it. I'm not quite there. I think
Mhm.
there's some interesting craft in a lot of his stuff, but I haven't loved the Fede Alvarez movie yet. The filmmaker who I am kind of like rooting for, even though I know is imperfect, is actually we were just talking about him, Adam. It's Osgood Perkins.
Hmm.
I like Long Legs. I like Black Coat's Daughter. I like a lot of what he does. I haven't gotten to see The Monkey yet. I missed that screening, but I've heard mixed things about it. Um, I'm like 60% on board with Osgood Perkins. I'm just waiting for that other thing. I'm waiting for him to really like turn into another gear that I think he's capable of. And then the filmmaker team that I really want to see get more attention and love and good projects are John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, the guys who did Game Night and Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which I think
Hmm.
are two of the best comedies of the last like however many years. Like I think they're so good. I love that Dungeons and Dragons movie. I think Game Night's like a masterpiece. And I think they're both really well directed movies. And I don't know what these guys have in the hopper next, but I want to see them. They should be mainstream comedy directors who are successful if we still
Yeah.
made comedies the way we should be.
You want to talk about shocking? Like Dungeons and Dragons was like that was my
Hmm.
went to go see it and walked out being like that was delightful. And then it was the rest of the year me trying to convince people
Yes.
like no, I know
No,
it's Dungeons
it's
and Dragons.
good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I've got more mainstream here thing, and I'm gonna ruffle some feathers with my second pick here. Okay. Um, these are like he's a huge star, but he just picks some absolute garbage movies, and that is The Rock.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love The Rock. I love his wrestling. I love every moment he's on screen. I think he is like I remember seeing him for the first time in like Get Shorty and like how great he is in that movie. And then he follows it up with The Rundown and like that movie's so good. And I was like this guy is going to be the biggest
Mhm.
star ever. And I got it when he was first starting out and he did stuff like The Tooth Fairy. And it's like okay, I'm just trying to get work. But now he's a huge star and he just is in absolute garbage movies sometimes and it drives me insane with him.
He can be a very charismatic screen presence, but he's got terrible instincts
Hmm.
Okay.
and a really bad business approach to his career, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then this is the one I might rustle some feathers with. He is a huge star, but I really have had problems with everything he's done recently. I miss old Tim Burton. Like
Okay.
I love like he had a run there where I would have watched him like film paint dry. Like I loved everything he did and he really I did not like Beetlejuice. Like
No, I didn't.
I hated
Yeah, I
that
didn't really
movie.
like it that much either.
So it's just really difficult for me to see a director that I love so much and I thought was such a creative mind like just
He's just not
fall off.
he's just not an outsider anymore. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
have that sensibility anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll say person. All right, this is I hate getting personal, but you kind of have to on some of these. So like who I wish did better work, I'll say kind of the Scott Derrickson, Blumhouse, Christopher Landon
Yeah.
group of folks, especially the Scott Derrickson thing because he also gives advice out about filmmaking online, and it's like I you need to be better than you are to do that, in my humble opinion.
There's a
No
couple
offense to
people on
him.
social media who do that in that circle that are like, dude,
Yeah.
pump the brakes.
A little bit like it's like they act like they got it all figured out. And
Exactly.
it's just like, I don't know, to an outsider, maybe not. On that same token, who I wish would go in a different direction. I wish that there's a lot of actors in the horror genre, like Catherine Newton, Melissa Barrera, Dance Stevens, where it's like we have to clap for them because they exist in a horror movie, and I just don't. They're fine, they're good, but it's like do something else.
Yep.
You're wearing out your welcome. Speaking of wearing out your welcome, I could go the rest of my life without another Mission Impossible movie. So like Tom Cruise, do something else. Like we know you're capable of doing something else. I don't need like even the trailer for the new one. It's like he's hanging on like a biplane now. I'm like, isn't that like three rungs less impressive than jumping off of a mountain? Like, are you out of ideas too? Like, go do a drama, go do A Few Good Men Part Two or something like that.
Scared. I think he's
Um,
scared of doing that.
and then who I wish I had access to better material, my boy John Travolta, because he gives his all in everything. I just wish that it was applied to the one that haunts me is I heard that he was in consideration for the Andrew Dice Clay part in A Star Is Born, and I'm like, yes, that is exactly the
That would have
types
been
of roles that he could be doing right now. And the movie's not riding on his shoulders, but like I think he would be a real value add in like small supporting parts like that. All right, our next question comes from Chris. Now that Amazon owns the rights, do you have any hope for the future of James Bond? What are your favorite and least favorite Bond movies?
That's so hard. Like I'm excited that like Amazon has very very deep pockets, but there are very I shouldn't say few. I love going to the movie theater
Mhm.
and I love seeing movies. And one of the like I've always loved seeing James Bond movies on the big screen. And like for that to not it I Amazon's probably going to put whatever they do, they're going to put it out on Prime right away. I don't, and so that makes me a little bit sad as far as I don't know how much more of a big screen James Bond we're going to get.
See, I think that they're gonna do like the big screen movies, but I the thing I worry about and where I'll be disappointed is they're gonna make TV shows
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
about it. And that's the thing that it's like with Star Wars where it's just so diluted at this point where like I don't even really want to go back and watch the original trilogy because it doesn't feel special anymore. It just feels like it's same thing with Lord of the Rings where it's just like the more content they add to
Content.
it, it's like it makes the first thing less special to me. I'm approaching it in good faith while also having heavy doubt that Amazon is going to do the right thing with it because the thing that's cool about James Bond is it's like the boutique franchise. It's like the handle it with white gloves thing. So like having it be owned by like the ultimate big box is kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge. I mean, James Bond is they're my oldest favorite movies. I mean, it's some of the Bond series is very very important to me. I have absolutely no faith that Amazon has the first clue what to do with it. I think they will pump out content and it will be mostly dog shit. The thing with, as you mentioned about the Bond movies, it was always the Broccolis. It was always a family business. It was a family thing. One of the first like papers I ever wrote for a film class was about the way Bond has always reflected the era in which it's in.
Mhm.
You know, Moonraker and all the like all the way that the Roger Moore era especially really reflected social movements and Bond was always like that and like the fact that we ended the Eon era on a post 9/11 Daniel Craig sort of kind of almost postmodern approach to the series. Now that feels like very appropriate. Like I'm almost at peace with Bond being over because of the way the
Yeah.
Craig era ended. I have no real faith that it's just another thing now, like Star Wars, as you said. It's just broken. But I have my like, you know, I've got my box set. I'm good. You know, like
Mhm.
I have this forever, so I don't need to really worry about anything else.
As far as like favorite and least favorite Bond movies, like the one that I think is always going to be closest to my heart, just because of the age I was and everything. Like, I mean, I grew up watching Thunderball and all that other
Mhm.
stuff, but like the one that really felt like my James Bond was GoldenEye,
Yeah,
just
Mhm.
because of like the age of when I came out, and then it followed it up with like one of the best video games ever.
totally.
Like it was so much there. And then as far as least favorite, those later Roger Moore
Roger Moore.
ones are just brutal to get
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, for me, my favorites are Casino Royale and From Russia with Love, and then least favorites are Die Another Day and Spectre, I think. But I haven't seen six of the seven Roger Moores,
Oh,
and I haven't
Not missing
seen,
much.
yeah, and I haven't seen two of the Connerys,
okay.
and I haven't seen the whole thing of The Living Daylight. So my project, or one of my projects I've given myself for the year is to finish all those up by the end of the year, so I can have a definitive ranking of them.
I wrote down one for each Bond. My favorite Connery is From Russia with Love. My favorite Lazenby obviously is on Her Majesty's Secret Service. My favorite Moore is For Your Eyes Only. My favorite Dalton is The Living Daylights. My favorite Brosnan is not Goldeneye. The World Is Not
Ooh,
Enough is my favorite Brosnan.
it's a very good one. And yeah,
And Twine Hive Forever. I love that movie. And Casino Royale is my Craig.
All right, I got an extra question. Is there like one Bond movie for you guys that not necessarily it's underrated, but it's like the one that you kind of have a soft spot for that is sort of not liked as much?
The World Is Not Enough would have been mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
honestly, just because of I have so much fond memories of it when I was a little kid,
Mhm.
it's garbage. I understand that now, but when I was a little kid, I loved Moonraker. Like I loved it.
Yeah.
It was
Character.
space and Jaws was in it, and
Yeah.
I loved it when I was a little kid.
It's made for little kids, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love License to Kill, and I saw that again in last summer at the Alamo Draft House, and it was like a magic screening where after it was over, like several people clapped, and I was just like, "Yeah, we just
It's
watched License to Kill."
it's the one of the earliest ones I had on tape, and it's like Miami Vice Bond. It's like
Yeah,
dark and me. I like both Daltons.
yeah, I do too. I like how much water and shark stuff are in it.
Not the
I'm
head.
just like, I like, especially for like me at 7 years old, I was just like, "There's sharks in this. This is the greatest." Our last question comes from Miko, our good friend Miko.
Nico, this is a great one. This is a great idea, Nico. I like
Yeah.
this question a lot.
So we are bound to program an F This Movie Fest lineup of six movies from the year 2024.
Last year.
I can't do this without thinking like Patrick. Like I have to kind of have his
100%.
input
Yeah.
in his head. So the first movie's usually family friendly-ish, so I went Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Okay.
Um, then I put Trap second because
Okay.
it's kind of light and fun. Third, I put Drive Away Dolls because it's short and it's divisive. Fourth is almost always the wild card spot, so I put Joker Folie à Deux
Nice.
Ooh,
because I knew
okay.
Patrick would want to program that. Fifth, the movie that needs to get people a little bit back is Long Legs.
Yeah.
And then for the headliner, I did Dune Part Two.
Yeah, you guys got to understand my where I did think a little bit like Patrick, but I still wanted to be Adam.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love these types of movies. So, I'm a big action sci-fi guy, so you have to know that going in. So the first one I thought was like needs to be family friendly. I went with Wild Robot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
movie's fantastic. My second movie, it's got to be fun. I went with Fall Guy for my
Okay.
second one. Then usually Patrick likes to put a horror movie in there.
Mhm.
Again, you said kind of controversial, so I put Long Legs in that one. So that
Mhm.
would be one that you and I had in common.
Mhm.
Then I then put Monkey Man in
Cool.
this one, just
Okay.
because I love those. And then my fifth one, one again thinking a little bit like Patrick that I think more people need to be a fan of. I am a huge fan of this movie. Is Furiosa.
Okay.
Okay.
I love that movie. I think it's super underrated and should have made a lot more money than it did. And then the one that like I had a lot of fun with, but it's also divisive, and it kind of like just seeing Armageddon made me think of it. Our last movie is Twisters,
Okay.
so that was the one I ended with.
Nice.
I also was sort of in the thinking like Patrick mindset. Although to be fair, no one can do what he does, but just
Mhm.
putting it out there. I also went with something sort of family friendly, maybe not as family friendly, but sort of a coming of age. I went with Snack Shack to open.
Okay.
Okay.
I then thought about crowd pleaser to get the energy going. I went with Hitman.
Mhm.
Then I really wanted a good centerpiece, something that Patrick always has an underseen, underrated kind of movie. I went with Last Stop in Yuma County.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I did
Then
not
I
see
Yeah,
that one.
wanted
that's a good one. Yeah.
then I wanted to bring stuff kind of back up again, get like because that movie's kind of heavy, so I thought maybe lighten things up a bit. I went with Thelma, a movie I really enjoyed from
Mhm.
last year. Then I was thinking dinner time, kind of mood getting darker. I went with Trap.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then I was gonna go with Dune Part Two, but I was thinking about the time consideration. But I wanted to end on something sort of really just like emotionally kind of uplifting and really good and gratifying, cathartic. So I'm ending with Love Lies Bleeding.
Miko, you gotta let us know which lineup do you like the
Now, which
best?
one I'd be going with, Nico?
All right. So that is our episode. Adam, thank you so much for joining us again. And thank you everybody for sending your questions. And
These
these
were
were
good.
really fun. So we will be back next week. Patrick is going to be joining us. We are doing a part two of our Cell Bagel Royale episode where we picked a double feature of The Favorite and Sucker Punch. So we're gonna watch it and we're gonna talk about those movies.
See how I know about.
So I was about to say rejoin us. So join us next
Right.
week. So until next time.
These seats are still at F This Movie Fest.
There you
Oh
go.
yeah.